Good evening and welcome to the August 28th meeting of the Redevelopment Commission. I will call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock and take roll call. With me tonight is Vice President Sean Harold, Secretary Chris Meter, members Rhonda Schwartz and Adam Young, our school representative Eric Roseborough, and our town manager Grant Kleinhans. I have confirmed we have a quorum. Proper notice of the meeting has been given. Do we get any previous or meeting notes or anything?
No, we received no questions or comments prior to the meeting tonight.
Great. Any public comment? Great. We do have a packed agenda tonight, so we'll jump right in. First up is the consent of regular session meeting minutes from our previous July meeting. Those were previously distributed. Any further comments or edits? Nope. All right. We'll approve those by consent. Next is approval of claims and expenses. Grant, any outstanding items to highlight?
Sure. So the claims are in the total amount this month of $21,029.26. The large expenditures that you see on there, there's 4 of them. DC Rebar, Speedway Main, Inc., that is for the payment of the fabricated stage canopy that we ordered through Bomar many, many months ago. They have met all of their requirements. They installed it appropriately. It's not their fault that the concrete work is substandard and didn't meet our approval. Therefore, we believe it's appropriate to pay them what is owed to them on that canopy. It's also understood that if that contractor has to tear it out, then they have to reinstall it or pay Bomar to reinstall it and do it correctly. So that's that large one. The other one is with London Witty Group. This is for April through June cash flows. That's $3,000. Jennifer Hudson does a great job. She helped immensely with this PowerPoint, putting that together for the overlapping taxing districts that I'll give tonight. Rundle Ernstberger has a couple of invoices on there. They are for the Speedway entrance gateway sign. They do have a small portion of their contract that was approved by the SRC to review shop drawings, any change requests, help with those kind of things. One thing that we are asking them to look at is a very simple thing, but it's turned into something a little more complex. When we mow and maintain areas, we have to have a curb cut that allows us to get up on medians and into areas. That was left out of the plans. No big deal. They've got to review that, and I think some of that is in the cost of what they asked for this month, because that's going to be a change to the project. It'll probably be $1,200, but it needs to be done so we can get our equipment into the area to do proper maintenance. The final one is with Veritas, $1,686.81. That is for professional services related to construction, inspection, and oversight at the gateway sign. So those are the 4 large ones. The remainder are notices to IBJ. There's the gate arm fee of $83 per month for each of those gate arms on our parking lot. So those are the large ones. If anyone has any questions, I'll answer those. And then here is the official.
All right. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the claims as submitted.
I'll second.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the claims and expenses as submitted, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, Grant, you're up. Director's report.
Yes, so what I'll do is I'll do the Speedway Redevelopment Commission overlapping taxing unit report. We are required to do this every year in August. We've done it every year over the past couple of years. I think I gave it 2 years ago once Tim left, and now I'm giving it 2 years later. So bear with me. I do have a PowerPoint. Brian, could we bring that up on the screen? There we go. All right, so why are we doing this? We have to do this overlapping taxing unit report because if you remember, TIF collects dollars in a specific geographic boundary from all of the taxing entities included. The only thing that is excluded from that are bond issues for the school, corporation, for facilities and those kinds of things, or operational levies. So we don't collect those, but we do collect taxes from the other 5 or 6 taxing entities in those TIF districts. So we have to make a report to them generally about what we do, why we do it, our goals, our objectives, and projects that we've accomplished. You'll notice in the audience tonight, we don't have representatives from any of those overlapping taxing units. And it's not because we didn't notify them. We sent a letter last month to them notifying them of this meeting. We've received no questions or comments. Sometimes I would like to receive a question or comment, but I guess that means we're doing a decent job of informing them of that, of those requirements. So you'll notice here, according to Indiana code, we have to really report on our budgetary activities, how we're spending those property tax proceeds, long-term plan for those allocation areas, and the impact to each of those taxing entities. We'll look at some slides that kind of address all of those things. And what I would say is if anyone has any questions from the public or those taxing entities, they can contact me and we will try to get answers to them as soon as possible. We also have additional reporting requirements in April and June. Those are typically just expenditures to those points and receipts to those points. All right, so the report outlined tonight, or my presentation, we're going to go over a financial review. London Witty Group is not here this evening. If you have a question that I cannot answer, there probably will be something. I will get that answer back to you as soon as possible. We'll also look at the community projects or impacts we had because of the TIF districts, and then our economic development initiatives for the future. All right, and I apologize for the smallness of this slide. You're not going to be able to read every single word on there, but this is a look at all of our different allocation areas, when they were created, the instrument that created them, a declaratory resolution. You'll notice that the first TIF district there was created in 2005. So that was allocation area number 1. That has kind of been our one that we've relied on a lot, and it collects a big portion of our revenue. Also to the right, it shows the expiration dates. I think those are important for the overlapping taxing entities to understand and know, but also the Redevelopment Commission members to understand and know, as well as staff. As we look at future debt issuances or bond issues or bond anticipation notes, we need to understand, okay, we've only got X amount of years left in these TIF districts. So you'll notice, just look at that allocation area number 1 that was created in 2005. It expires October the 3rd of 2035. So by my calculation, that's about 12 years. So we still have a good amount of time, but any debt instrument would have to be amortized over a 12-year period. Couldn't do a 15-year loan or bond because you won't have increment those last 3 years. So that's a list of all those allocation areas, when they were expanded, when they changed a little bit. There's a lot of information that can be gleaned from that, and if anyone is interested in knowing, I can get every one of those instruments. We have those in the office and show you. Also, each of those instruments required a capital improvements plan that was put together showing what are we going to spend this money on. It does not mean that's exactly and only what we can do. It's just a guideline to help everyone understand here's what we think is important. All right, here's a map that shows our various allocation areas. I apologize, it's also small. It is on our town website and you can blow it up slightly. I think we need to try to do a better job of making this map a little more easily read. We are fortunate our town's only 2.5 square miles, so it's not like we have these spread out over a huge geographic area. You can generally tell by the cross streets, the blue area, that's allocation redevelopment area number 1. That's IMS, Main Street, all the industrial and manufacturing to the east, Praxair, and others. And then you've got the other various ones, the Gateway, Founders Square, and other allocation areas. These are important because we need to understand these as staff so that when someone comes in and asks, what incentives do you have to offer potentially for a redevelopment or a project, we're able to look at this and say, oh, you're located in this area. And then we can understand what we potentially can do. So a general financial overview. First, we will look at the Speedway town tax rate, which includes things like the county, the township, civil town, school corporation, public library, health and hospital, the Speedway Transportation Committee, and then the Consolidated County of Indianapolis. So this is a comparison of the tax rate from 2022 to the tax rate in 2023. You will notice that that tax rate dropped fairly significantly. Why, you might ask? It's because everyone had a significant growth in their assessed value. We had well over $100 million in AV growth, which AV is simply the value of the property within your community. This year, conversely, in 2024, we are only projecting a 0.3% growth in our assessed value. My guess is some of that was overdone potentially last year, and this year they kind of tried to even that out. I have had complaints about our tax rates or what they're paying in taxes. The thing you got to understand about tax rates, though, is it's a mathematical formula. If your home assessed value goes up, let's say you lived in a $100,000 home last year, you might have only paid $2,000 of property tax. Now this year that home went up to $150,000, and frankly, as one who would love to live in the community one day, all those homes have gone up to $350,000, $400,000. Therefore, you're paying more in property tax because your AV went up. So that's important for everyone to understand. Most people believe government has the ability to control that. We do in some respect with the way that we handle our debt. So for instance, our general fund debt or the school debt, we will increase or decrease taxes depending on what we do with debt issues that are rolling off the books or ones that we're putting on. And we try to take that very seriously. We never want a huge tax increase. And all this information came from the Marion County Auditor's Office, who, that's what they do. They keep track of all of that. So this shows the TIF revenue by allocation area for the period of 17 to 22, the last 5 years. So you'll notice the different colors on the chart there. The green number is the total consolidated revenue. That's everything lumped together. The other colors, Area 1, and you'll notice Area 1 has real estate, RE. It also has personal property. Our area number 1 has about 70% of its revenue coming from personal property, machinery, equipment, in Praxair, Allison's, etc. That is one of the more risky ways to generate property tax, because what happens to equipment? Breaks down, goes obsolete, gets replaced. You would always hope that they end up replacing it with something else, but that's something we've always been concerned about. And as the state has talked about, oh, we're going to reduce the personal property tax, we start to sweat a little bit, because 70% of that revenue comes from personal property. Area 2 there just is real estate. That's basically on the west side. We don't have companies that have presses or machines in there. So if you look at the numbers, in 2017, we collected a total of $3.4 million. That has grown fairly significantly over the past 5 years. In 2022, we collected $5.8 million from our TIF districts. Why is that? Growth in assessed value just from appreciation and sale of property, growth in AV as projects have come on to the books. For instance, Founders Square, all those projects are generating $60 to $80 million over the next couple of years as they all get built out. Currently, for instance, the Hampton Inn is only 40% assessed, so we've got 60% that should come online next year. Taxes are always in arrears. There's really no other way to do it the way government, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but it makes it more, you have to guess more. They try to make sure we understand what's in the ground, what's been booked and completed, and then we tax that. So that's a look at our revenue over the past, once again, 5 years. A lot of that revenue goes to retiring debt, and we'll show you here the debt in a couple of moments. This is the TIF revenue by those locations, the Crawfordsville Gateway, the Main Street Gateway, Founders Square. One thing I do want to point out, and this is a concerning area for us as we talk with Jennifer, that Gateway TIF, which is where Burger King and Chipotle and D1, and then the hotel is in that area. Some of those areas have stopped paying property taxes, or they've appealed their assessments, and those assessments have been lowered. And you'll notice our revenue over the past couple of years has dropped $60,000. It's not a huge number, but it's something that we're starting to get concerned about. So that's one that we continue to watch. The developer behind that is backing those and making those payments, so we are safe, but who knows what potentially could happen in the future. You'll also notice Founders Square generated $62,000 in '22. We'll expect a little bit more because more development has happened. Any questions on any of these slides before we go? Trying to make it as simple and clear as possible. This is just a total of revenues. We kind of already covered that. And then these charts kind of give you a really good, clear picture of what the projected revenues are for those areas over those period of years. I've already pretty much covered that. This sheet shows our outstanding debt instruments that we have issued in order to build projects or do things like the storm sewer and gateway improvements on Main Street. All told, we have a total of outstanding debt service of $47 million in the TIF districts. That's spread out, as you can see, amongst those. I think there are 9 of those instruments there. The principal annually for that is $2.46 million, and our interest is $1.74 million. Our annual estimated payment for 2022 is $4.2 million. So you can see about 60%, not quite 60%, is going towards principal. So if you extrapolated that out, we still have a few years to pay these debts off. But those debts have served the community well by building infrastructure that has allowed Main Street to develop. If you remember Founders Square, it was a kind of a wasteland. We needed to put new infrastructure in, sewer, water, streets, curbs, gutters, all of that. We helped out those developers to make that a developable. We also purchased a lot of that property, tore it down to make it developable. This is just another chart kind of in a different way showing our collections and debt service. I'm not going to delve too much into that, but it will be, it's on that presentation. Community projects, I just wanted to go over a couple of the projects that we've kind of looked at over the past couple of years, as well as where some of our money is going. That's one of those required things. So in our TIF expenditures outside of debt service, a majority of what we spend is debt service. So from TIF, we've spent about $261,000 in 2022 on a whole host for lease payments, legal fees, appraisals. Engineering was a big one, $222,000. Taxes. Why are we paying taxes? Sometimes we buy property like the Heaven Sent building. It doesn't get off the tax rolls and we have to pay sometimes 1.5 years worth of tax. Heaven Sent will be off the tax rolls next year and we will not pay the $2,700 we did in property tax this year. So all told in 22, outside of debt service, we spent $261,926 from the TIF district. You got to remember, we have our operating fund, which is non-TIF district money. That's some of our revenue from leasing out parking lots, selling properties, grants that we receive, other payments. And that is what is used to fund the salary and benefits for the director, the lease here at beautiful Speedway Municipal Center, some of those expenses to have those staff. Any questions about those expenditures? All right, Founders Square Development. I wanted to talk about this one a lot because I think this is a prime example of what TIF should be used for. And I think the town of Speedway, you guys, and the previous redevelopment commission and director should be proud of what was accomplished here. I mentioned this was a wasteland. There were a lot of vacant, derelict buildings that didn't look good, did not give off a good impression of our community, and frankly, we're not paying the appropriate amount of tax because they could generate a lot more based on what is done there. So as you can see from this example, we have created a lot of assessed value out in that area. The Hampton Inn, beautiful, opened earlier this May. The event center there that they rent out is available. First Merchants Bank is under construction on that far northeast corner behind El Rodeo. We've had Valvoline construct and open, Freddy's construct and open, Crew Car Wash open. Aldi was the first project. And you'll notice it says senior housing there. That should say T&H Investments. As you know, they're building their $17.5 million senior apartment complex. That should be open by November. They have stated that it will be open by November. I will believe that when I see it. It looks like there's a lot of work left to do. They've done a lot of the outside, but and as you look inside, I'm not sure they're as far along maybe as they wanted. But I believe most of that is leased up, and there is a great demand in our community for that type of nice senior housing. The Residence Inn is shown there by Marriott because MHG Hotels has stated that that's what they would like to do there. That's a more extended stay product, but it by no means it's a lesser hotel. It's just more of an extended stay. And then the final property, the 2.12 acres there, states available. At this point, there's no plans that I'm aware of for anyone going into that property. I was always told by Tim, the previous director, that that could be an outlot for a restaurant, maybe a small strip center with one or two places, and then a small parking lot. So it's not a huge, but you can see we're about 80% built up and filled. So big accomplishment. I think Founders Square Development has brought a lot of benefit to that west side of the community. Here's just a couple of pictures of those completed. You can see the T&H Investments apartments there under construction. Here is the 1300 block of Main Street. As you know, that opened also this year. All of those condominiums were sold and closed upon. Also, the 3 retail units on the bottom floor have been had tenants since basically May. So B. Aaron's Design, the Bev Shop, and then La Peep. I think all 3 have been nice additions to our communities. We're also constructing, as you can see to the right, the plaza on Main Street. I think it's going to be a great little pocket park area. I think it's going to bring a lot of coolness to our downtown. It will serve the 1300 block, but it also will be used by the Chamber of Commerce and other parks departments. We'll look at using that as much as possible for small concerts, small gatherings. It's going to look really nice. But remember, we're going to have that concrete torn out. We've issued those letters and told them, and they are working on that. 16th Street parking lot was finished last May. Here's just another picture of it. I think that's a big improvement to that area. As you might remember, there are about 20 spots in the south corner of that parking lot that will be held for valet parking for the eventual hotel once that is completed. We have an agreement with them, and I think that's a good use of that to provide additional opportunities for people to use that hotel. Economic development initiatives that are going forward into the future. The Wilshaw Hotel development. These pictures are old. That property's been sitting there for years. You all know the story. We are working very hard to get that financed. I believe we have made significant strides over the past couple of months, and I believe we are nearing that finish line. I cannot tell you with certainty when that is, though. That's the difficulty. Closing, anybody that's done real estate transactions, nothing is easy, particularly in this market, particularly for a project that is considered a broken project, and we're trying to find someone that's interested in going into that. So the Wilshaw, we hope that gets closed this fall, and we might see construction either late this year or into next year. The Borage development over on 16th Street and Lyndhurst, a great development there on that northeast corner where the pizza place used to be. It has been transformed into a dual-use facility, a restaurant on the west side of that building, I'll call it, northwest side, and then a bakery, retail, shop on that east corner. We toured that, I believe, when was that? April, March? It was cold.
It was cold.
So it was March. Looks fantastic. They've made good progress on that. They hope to open this fall. I have not been given a specific date. The moment they give me a date, we will notice that and hopefully do a ribbon cutting and welcome them to the community. It's going to be a really nice upscale restaurant that we don't necessarily offer on the west side of India. We have great restaurants, don't get me wrong. This is going to be a little bit different. Plus you can take cooking classes, you can buy fresh ingredients. So if you're a amateur chef, you can get some things that you might not be able to get from Walmart down the street or Aldi or Kroger. But I think we're all excited about that project and should be a significant boon to our community. Finally, the Gateway Signage Project, we bid that in April. It was approved by the council. We have an agreement with the SRC. 50% of those proceeds will be paid by you, or those expenses by you, 50% by us. That bid was for just over 1.1 million. I think we got a very good deal on it. It is about 30% constructed, I would say. The foundation and footers are moving ahead. They've done more earthwork. The landscaping has started to take shape, and they are hoping to have that. In fact, by contract, they have to have it done by October the 31st. We believe that it'll be done before then, but the landscaping will be the final point. We can't plant landscaping in August, September. It needs to be cooler, wetter, so we're looking at October, November. They may have a couple trees that might carry over, but that'll be something we address once we come into that. I think it's going to be a huge benefit to the west side of the community, along with Founders Square and that Gateway TIF. I think it's going to make a nice impression on people as they come into the community. We do want to continue this. We got to find additional dollars. We'd love to do smaller pylon signs around the other 8 or 10 entrances in the community. And as you know, we also would love to do something in the roundabout, but that's a bigger bite to take out of the apple. That's probably $4 to $5 million to do something and do it right. So we have to figure out where to get those funds. Any suggestions, let me know. Or if you want to write a check, just let me know. I think the final statement I would have on this presentation is TIF is a fantastic tool when used properly. I believe the town of Speedway and the Redevelopment Commission has used that properly. We've done projects that needed to be accomplished, prioritized things that needed to be taken care of, and I can say that you are looking for the future. What is the next thing we need to do? What are the next projects? And I think that's exactly what the TIF is designed to do, to increase taxable assessed value. What's the old saying? A rising tide lifts all boats, and I think that's what the concept of a TIF, Tax Increment Finance District, is all about. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments you might have, or I'll just be quiet and you guys can talk amongst yourselves.
I will give you a bit of a break there. Yeah. No, I think that was a great summary of the work that we've done lately. It feels like we've been busy, and I can see we've been busy. So thank you so much for that.
And it's interesting, there's so many things we do that don't always show up directly on these kind of slides because they're small things, but all those small things added together make something big. So I'll be quiet.
Thank you.
No questions really, Grant. I think the presentation was just very outline of everything that we've been doing, so I appreciate it, taking the time and putting this together just to kind of help illustrate the public, us, in this moment. And yeah, the whole assessed value and the high tide mentality I believe in at my core. So as a community that we're in, you know, all boats are rising. So appreciate just all those comments today.
Yeah.
Yep, and totally agree. I echo everything that both Jennifer and Adam said. I think for me as a project manager, this is the fun stuff to look at, right? You live in the day-to-day and the nuts and bolts of it all, but to get to see some finished products out there is really exciting. And so good things happening, still lots of work to do, but definitely headed in the right direction.
I think that the process of making the sausage is not necessarily as exciting.
Right.
But yeah, seeing those projects completed, open, people using them, that's exciting.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Any other comments? All right. Anything else in the director's report, or move on to new business?
I think I'm done. I've said enough. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll move on to our 3 new business items this evening. The first one is a special event request for Jazz on Main, presented by our Speedway Chamber of Commerce, which I believe is going to be in our barbecue and bourbon lot. Do you have any other details, Grant?
So it is September the
It's September 9th.
September 9th. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the USAC event. I apologize.
That's
September
all
the
right.
9th.
Yep.
We did it. You guys did it last year for the first time?
Right. Well, that's first time at that location.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it had 300 or 400 people
Yeah,
that showed up.
several people there,
Nice
yeah.
evening.
Great
And
event.
I think those are the kind of events that make communities great. You know, you do those little things that, 1,000 people didn't come, but 400 people came.
Sure.
So it's good to have those. So we'll make sure the lot is cordoned off and signage is put up so that there isn't any issue and problem. And it's like anything. We may have something that happens, but we'll deal with it when that day comes.
And if anybody wants to come help set up the stage, you'll
That'll be
take their offers?
2 o'clock on Saturday, September 9th. Feel free to come down there and help out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve a special event request for the Jazz on Main presented by the Speedway Chamber of Commerce.
I'll second that.
Great, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the request, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Aye.
All right, passes 4-1. Next item is approval of, for this same lot, but different weekend, different event, event space license agreement with IMS for the IMSA Street Fest, which is happening on September 14th. Any other details on that one?
So just so you are aware, they will pay $2,000 for the rental of that lot, and it's important to understand under Section 6 on page 2, the town will be named and the redevelopment commission as an additional insured on their insurance, and they have to carry insurance that has an aggregate liability of no less than $1 million and single limit liability of no less than $1 million. So we do try to protect ourselves. That's pretty standard in all of our language. So I just want to make sure people understand that we take that seriously and do try to protect the town and our interests. So other than that, don't have any questions about this or comments about this one.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve our approval of the event space license agreement with IMS and IMSA Street Fest on September 14th.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the event space agreement, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
So I did pass the official agreement for signature.
Thank you.
And if, after the meeting, if you can give those back to me, I'll make sure they get to Eder and get taken care of.
Great. The last new business item is for an event space license agreement with USAC for our, we call it the USAC lot, but just east of their building, and this will be for the Indy 500 weekends for the next 3 years?
It is the next 4 years after, it's 4 years,
Okay.
sorry. 4 years, yep.
Great.
So, sorry, I'll go ahead and give just a quick summary of that. Similar to the other agreement that you approved, same aggregate limit and single limit liability insurance is required. They rent that facility basically from the Thursday before Memorial Day through Sunday or race day, and that's what we're doing here each year of that agreement. $7,500 is the payment for next year. We did have a 3% escalator included in that, and those dollar amounts are listed there, $7,725 the second year. I'm trying to read that. $7,957 the third year, $8,195. So it is a 5-year agreement. It's this coming year and 4 after that.
Gotcha.
But it does go up to $84.41 in the final year of 2028. I think that we appreciate USAC and what they do. It does bring added benefit to the community. It kind of goes hand in glove with our Rockin' on Main activities, and we worked well with them this year. I think this is a great use for that space and recommend this to the Redevelopment Commission.
Great. Any questions on this item? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion for the approval of the event space license agreement with USAC Racing.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the event space license agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, on to our old business this evening is approval of the Redevelopment Commission's operating budget for 2024.
Yes, so Jennifer, you showed up to our presentation last Wednesday evening and went over some of the highlights. I'm not going to go over this again. We did present this to you last month. I know there were some changes made, and I approve those changes. That's great. So the amended budget for 2024 is in the amount of $378,859, which is a pretty significant 65% reduction over last year. You might ask, why is that? Last year, we had a couple of property purchases that were included in there and some engineering. That should come out of TIF, and those were removed. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, I think we're we're really just honing in on what we'd like to spend for our operating, which we try to lessen on. And as we welcome a new director, hopefully soon, that they'll be ready to go and help us move into the future. So I will entertain a motion to approve our operating budget.
I'll make a motion that we approve approval of the 2024 Redevelopment Commission operating budget.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the 2024 operating budget, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, on to the exciting one of this evening. Review of proposal responses for our RFP at the the former American Insight.
Yeah, so this was an interesting process and project for us. I think we tried to make sure we did it right. We wrote an RFP. We had Veritas assist us in that process, sent that out, noticed it. I think we sent it out to 11 or 12 different developers or entities that we knew had expressed interest in property in and around Speedway. So from that, we received probably half a dozen responses saying, thank you, we'll review this. Of those half a dozen, we received two proposals by the deadline, which was August the 23rd, last Wednesday. So those proposals, the first one was from Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana. They proposed to build a full retail facility on that location. They had a purchase price of $227,000 for the lot, plus any expenses to hook up the sewer to that property. As you might remember, the sewer was taken out because it used to go through the Brixmore Shopping Center. So that will have to be connected to the main that's along Crawfordsville. We estimate that at about $150,000, but that was in last year's dollars. So we'll see. But they put $200,000 in there. The caveat with their proposal is they currently have a retail store on the west side behind McDonald's. They have a lease on that, I believe, 5 years left. So this proposal would be subject to that lease ending. My guess is they would start building that last year potentially, but that is their timeline. I spoke with Bill French, their representative. He made that very clear. They're interested, but they have a time concern. So that is that proposal. The second proposal is from T&H Investments. As you know, T&H, as I mentioned, is doing the senior apartments in Founders Square. They are proposing, I'll open it because I've taken some notes here on the inside. They are proposing on that facility to pay $272,400 for the property and build a mixed-use development that includes both multifamily housing and commercial space on the first floor. So it would be fairly similar to what we have on the 1300 block with retail on that bottom floor. It's only 1,400 square feet of commercial. That's not a lot, so it's going to be a small sandwich shop or something like that.
I looked up, Subway is 1,450.
Okay.
square feet,
So something like that could be done there. They would have 2,000 square feet of community space. That would include 39 apartment units, 12 one-bedroom and 27 two-bedroom. They would cater to young professionals and seniors, and they did reference town goals from previous plans that we put together. I thought that was a nice touch. So that is their proposal. I think both proposals have their own merits. I think what we probably need to do is get some feedback from the SRC, maybe even do an admin or an executive session to discuss. And then that process will be you guys working with us to put together a negotiated development agreement. We'll want to put some standards on that property, both architectural, building-wise, lot coverage, et cetera, but also we'll want to put some timelines, like when they close on it, we'll want it to be constructed within a certain amount of time. We don't want someone holding on to it for 10 years. That's not the goal of this RFP. I know that Goodwill wanted 5 years, and I understand that, but I don't think we want to let someone just hold on to it and have it increase in value and nothing get returned to the community. I think both of these have their merits, and we'll have to discuss those, but negotiating that development agreement, choosing who we're doing that with, negotiating it, then having that approved by you, enter into that agreement with them, and then set the closing for that property along with whatever timeline we decide in that economic development agreement. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
So it sounds like at least through the T&H Investment Group, it would be rental property, like a apartment complex or some kind of condominium that's rented, not equity owned.
Yeah, that's kind of what they stated. Now, that's a question we potentially want to ask them. What is the disposition of those properties?
Okay.
I would say we want to caution about, I don't think we want VRBO or short-term rentals there. I think we would want either ownership or apartments or condos or what have you, but that's something, the SRC needs to discuss. But what they proposed, I think, is rental units.
Yeah. That was my question, I guess.
Yeah. And I know they mentioned, if you read through the proposal, they mentioned, they had a fairly lengthy waiting list on the other project for seniors. They only had a certain amount of units. So some of these would be, probably the one bedroom would be for those seniors. So might be a good mix, would address some of our goals and objectives. So yeah, I might be tipping where I lean, but we definitely want to discuss that and vet out the different options.
And just to clarify, while we have received these two responses, we don't have to accept
We do not.
them.
The RFP was written such, and under state law, we can reject for any reason. If we aren't satisfied with how the negotiations go, if we're not satisfied with the price they offered or what they want to do, then we can reject, and then we can go into negotiation with whoever we so choose. Once it's been noticed for sale or noticed, then you can be a little more, you can go around and ask people, are you interested? I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but if this doesn't work out, we could potentially look at options like that.
Any other questions for Grant? All right, so stay tuned. Next on the agenda is our community update. Any upcoming events other than those we've talked about tonight?
A couple. September 9th, again, is the Jazz on Main. That's from 6:30 to 8:30, so, get that on your calendar. It's a great event. And then October 5th is the annual Taste of Speedway at Delara. And tickets can be purchased at BRN Designs or on Eventbrite. So you can check out the Chamber Facebook page or the town's page for a link on that.
Great. And then I think this Thursday is also the last market in the park and concert.
Last concert.
Concert as well, so.
Right.
Summer's wrapping up. I wish the temperatures would go down with it. All right, anything else coming up? All right. Thank you so much for hanging with us. We'll adjourn the meeting at 6:43.